I have read these 10 books, so you don't have to. And today I'm gonna tell you what I remember after 1 or 2 years from reading it. And for me personally, I think that is the actually core of the book. And it's not what is only written in the book. So let's get started. The first book that we have is highlighted in yellow. You would find that many of the books that I have the physical copy of is in Arabic, because at the time I was only reading in Arabic. So, highlighted in yellow is one of the books that I highly recommended, because there is highlights and quotes from different fields in life. And the funny about it is that I highlighted in yellow some of the quotes that is highlighted in the book that is highlighted in yellow. So, one of the quotes that I remember from the book is, if it happened that you're married and your wife told you about her robe, you always tell her that it's beautiful. There is so many quotes that are so beneficial, but this quote I found it very interesting and it's stuck in my head till today. So let's move on to the second book. It's the book The Seven Habits of the Most Highly Effective People. So this book is a great book that explains habit. I always talk about habits and how habits are very key in life, and it's the thing that makes and creates your personality. One of the things that I have learned in this book is that habits get built slowly and get destroyed slowly. And I have made an entire video about it before, but in this book it talks about very interesting and specific points about habits. As an example, a mindset of growth and the still mindset, and the difference between them, and how the growth mindset always aim for the better, while the still mindset just aim to be like where it is. So let's move on to the third book. You would find that these books are from different domains in life and field and school of thoughts. Some of them is, as you have seen, self-development books, and this is one of them, and it's also economical. This is probably the first book that I have read about economics and how to make money and etc. One of the greatest ideas that I have read in this book is that make money work for you, don't work for money. This is an interesting ideology when you think about it. Also, it talks about how it's about the mindset of growth and how it's only about having the mindset of making money. And as the title says, it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So the guy, or Robert, which is the creator of the book or the writer of the book, had two dads. One of them was rich and one of them was poor. And he talks about the difference between the two mentalities. So let's move on to the fourth book. Let's stay in the same genre. This book is The Secret of the Millionaire Mind. It's also one of the highly recommended book when we're talking about self-development and economics. One of the ideas that you take from this book, and probably the only idea that I do remember clearly, is that the millionaires have mindset, and it's not only money. So this book explains that the people that are rich, they were rich before they were rich in reality when we're talking about money. It's very interesting mindset when you think about it. So let's move on to the fifth book. Let's move on from this genre and let's go to something new. So let's move on to the fifth book, and don't mind if there is noise behind me. The fifth book is Males from Mars and Females from Jupiter. This book talks about differences between males and females, and how males have different characteristics. As an example, taking responsibility, and when they have a problem, they always tend to go into the cave. This is quote unquote from the book. Also, how females are better in getting better, and also they're better when we're talking about emotional intelligence. So let's move on to our sixth book, which is Who Moved My Cheese? One of the best books that I actually recommend. This book talks about the different mentalities when we're talking about adapting to change. It's very fantasy books and in some way childish, because it talks about rats and humans in a maze and how they adapt to change and how humans tend to actually complain about change rather than changing and adapting and adapting to it. I'm sorry. So let's move on to the book number 7, Transurfing Reality. This is one of the Stoic books that I have read, and it's actually interesting. It shows that in life there's different paths and there's different rivers, and every domain in life has a river. As an example, if someone chooses a field of studies, as an example, he feels that way the entire day. So he thinks that way, he talks that way, he breathes that way. And it explains how if you want to change the place that you are in or the river that you are in, you have to start thinking like that river. So like that you can change it, and it is the only way. It's very interesting fantasy way to explain some complex things when we talk about it. And also it talks about stoicism and how you should not go against the way, as Muyamato Musashi have said. So let's move on to the 8th book. The 8th book is The Way of the Superior Man. This book, I don't actually recommend it to everyone. Some people might like it, some people might not, and it's usually men that likes it. It talks about the differences between men and women and how men usually don't understand the reality. And this book actually, I would say, explains how you should understand the other. Whatever he does, he usually does it for a reason that you probably don't know. This is what I actually take from this book. And I know there is different points. Some of them you probably don't agree with, some of them you do. And this is the case for basically every book. So let's move on to the 9th book. The 9th book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving Anything. This is one of the most popular books. It's very interesting because it explains that everyone has problems in life, and life is just a combination of problems. So the smart people usually understand how they deal with their problems. So let's move on to our last book. The 10th book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a great book when we're talking about relationships and making friends and influencing people, as the book says. It shows that optimism always tends to get people to you, and being a good listener is basically being a good speaker. So there is more than this in the book, but I just give you a few notes from every book, and I have tried to help you as much as possible without making it too long for you. So I hope that I've helped you, and always remember to heal, inspire, and teach. And see you in the next one.